Welcome to SO 104, Study Session 10, Rostow Stages of Economic Growth and Development. Introduction. Professor W. Rostow used an historical approach to the process of economic development. He distinguished 5 stages of economic growth, namely 1. The traditional society, 2. The preconditions for takeoff, 3. The takeoff, 4. The drive to maturity, and 5. The age of high mass consumption. Our focus in this session is to analyze his model of development. Learning outcomes. When you have studied this session, you should be able to 1. Outline the 5 stages of Rostow stages of economic development. 2. Point out 5 criticisms of Rostow's theory of economic development. Overview of Rostow's 5 stages of development. 1. The traditional society. In the traditional society, more land are brought under cultivation. The scale and pattern of trade are expanded. Manufactures are developed and agricultural productivity are raised along with increase in population and real income. The undeniable fact is that for want of a regular and systematic use of modern science and technology, a ceiling existed on the level of attainable output per head. It did not lack inventiveness and innovations but lacked the tools. The social structure of such societies was hierarchical, in which family and clan connections played a dominant role. Political power was concentrated in the regions in the hands of the landed aristocracy, supported by a large retinue of soldiers and civil servants. More than 75% of the working population was engaged in agriculture. Naturally, agriculture happened to be the main source of income. 2. The preconditions for takeoff. The second stage is a transitional era in which the preconditions for sustained growth are created. The preconditions for takeoff were encouraged or initiated by 4 forces: the new learning or resonance, the new monarchy, the new world, and the new religion or the Reformation. These forces led to reasoning and skepticism in place of faith and authority. This brought an end to feudalism and led to the rise of national states. Inculcated the spirit of adventure, which led to new discoveries and inventions. Thus, these forces were instrumental in bringing about changes in social attitudes, expectations, structure, and values. Generally speaking, the preconditions arise not endogenously, but from some external invasion. The preconditions arise not endogenously, but from some external invasion. The preconditions for sustained industrialization, according to Rostow, usually require radical changes in 3 non-industrial sectors. First, a build-up of social overhead capital, especially in transport, in order to enlarge the extent of the market, to exploit natural resources productively, and to allow the state to rule effectively. Second, a technological revolution in agriculture so that agricultural productivity increases to meet the requirements of a rising general and urban population. Third, an expansion of imports, including capital imports, financed by efficient production and marketing of natural resources for exports. The continuous development and expansion of modern industry was mainly possible by the plowing back of profits into fruitful investment channels. As Rostow says, the essence of the transition can be described legitimately as a rise in the rate of investment to a level which regularly, substantially, and perceptibly outstrips population growth. The takeoff. Rostow defines the takeoff as an industrial revolution tied directly to radical changes in the methods of production, having their decisive consequence over a relatively short period of time. The takeoff period is supposed to be short, lasting for about 2 decades. The requirements of takeoff which are necessary are as follows. 1. A rise in the rate of productive investment from, say, 5% or less to over 10% of national income or net national product. 2. The development of one or more substantial manufacturing sectors with a high rate of growth. 3. The existence or quick emergence of a political, social, and institutional framework which exploits the impulses to expansion in the modern sector and gives to growth an outgoing character. Let us examine these conditions in detail. 1. Rate of net investment over 10% of national income. One of the essential conditions for takeoff is that the increase in per capita output should outstrip the growth of population to maintain a higher level of per capita income in the economy. The typical case explained by Rostow is based on the supposition that the incremental capital output ratio and the rate of population growth remain constant. It thus precludes the effects of increased labor force and improved technology on national income. However, during the takeoff, capital output ratio tends to decline with the change in investment pattern and a rise in the proportion of net investment to national income takes place from 5 to 10%, thus definitely outstripping the growth of population. 2. Development of leading sectors. Another condition for takeoff is the development of one or more leading sectors in the economy. Rostow regards the development of leading sectors as the analytical bone structure of the stages of economic growth. There are generally 3 sectors of an economy. A. Primary growth sectors, where possibilities of innovation or of exploiting new or unexplored resources lead to a higher growth rate than in the rest of the economy. B. Supplementary growth sectors, where rapid growth takes place as a consequence of development in the primary growth sectors. C. Derived growth sectors, where growth takes place in some very steady relation to the growth of total income, population, industrial production, or some overall modestly increasing variable. 3. Cultural framework that exploits expansion. The last requirement for takeoff is the existence or emergence of cultural framework that exploits the impulses to expansion in the modern sector. A necessary condition for this is the ability of the economy to mobilize larger savings out of an expanding income to raise effective demand for the manufactured products and to create external economies through the expansion of leading sectors. Rostow says that the takeoff requires the massive set of preconditions going to the heart of a society's economic organization, its politics, and its effective scale of values. It usually witnesses a definitive social, political, and cultural victory of those who would modernize the economy over those who would either cling to the traditional society or seek other goals. By and large, it persuades the society to persist and to concentrate its efforts on extending the tricks of modern technology and beyond the sectors modernized during the takeoff. The drive to maturity. Rostow defines the above term as the period when a society has effectively applied the range of modern technology to the bulk of its resources. It is a period of long sustained economic growth extending well over 4 decades. New production techniques take the place of the old ones. New leading sectors are created. Rate of net investment is well high, over 10% of national income, and the economy is able to withstand unexpected shocks. When a country is in the stage of technological maturity, 3 significant changes take place. First, the character of working force changes. Labor primarily becomes skilled. People prefer to live in urban areas rather than in rural. Real wages start rising and the workers organize themselves in order to have greater economic and social security. Secondly, the character of entrepreneurship changes. Rugged and hard-working masters give way to polished and polite, efficient managers. Thirdly, the society feels bored of the miracles of industrialization and wants something new, leading to a further change. The age of high mass consumption. The age of high mass consumption has been characterized by the migration to suburbia, the extensive use of automobile, durable consumers, goods and household gadgets. In this stage, the balance of attention of the society is shifted from supply to demand, from problems of production to problems of consumption and of welfare in the widest sense. However, 3 forces are discernible that tend to increase welfare in this post-maturity stage. First, the pursuit of national policy to enhance power and influence beyond national frontiers. Second, to have a welfare state by a more equitable distribution of national income through progressive taxation, increased social security and leisure to the working force. Last, decision to create new commercial centers and leading sectors like cheap automobiles, houses and innumerable electrically operated household devices. The tendency towards mass consumption of durable consumer goods, continued full employment and the increasing sense of security has led to a higher population growth in such societies. Criticisms against Rostow's theory. 1. The theory is not applicable to the undeveloped countries, as most of the countries are still at their subsistence stage of agricultural development. 2. There are no definite indicators and the trimming of the indicators to show the boundary between the precondition stage and the takeoff stage. 3. There have been revolution in developing states without development in some countries like Japan, without following all the 5 stages of development. 4. The actual time of takeoff cannot be established since developing countries are agriculturally based and despite the socio-political revolutions, there are no developments. 5. The age of automation is a threat to job security and that the development nations are still labor intensive. 6. The theory over assumes that all societies are homogeneous in all sectors, whereas the developing nations lack the technological base to take off. Study session summary. In this session, we discussed about the 5 stages of Rostow's theory of economic development. The stages are the traditional society, the precondition for takeoff, the takeoff, the drive to maturity, and the age of high mass consumption. We concluded the session by highlighting also the major criticisms of the theory. End of study session 10. Thank you for listening.